Hi, my name is Karen Sames, and I'm the Government Affairs Chair for the Minnesota Occupational Therapy Association. I'm here to tell you about OT Day at the Capitol 2014 Advocacy in Action. This is a picture from last year's OT Day at the Capitol, and we expect this year's to be just as busy and exciting as last year. We have 4 reasons for doing OT Day at the Capitol each year. The first is to educate legislators about occupational therapy. The second is to create a visible presence of occupational therapy at the Capitol, at least for one day. We're using this to promote changes in our licensure law and to educate occupational therapy practitioners and students about advocacy. This is experiential learning at its best. MOTA is the only organization that exclusively represents the interests of occupational therapy practitioners in Minnesota. We have about 800 members, and leadership of MOTA is provided by volunteers. There is paid office staff and a paid lobbyist. MOTA's mission is to enhance the professional development of its members, promote the profession of occupational therapy, and advocate for the provision of occupational therapy services across all practice arenas, populations, and geographic locations in Minnesota. MOTA is a member-driven organization. Membership and participation are voluntary and essential to the ongoing success of the organization. MOTA seeks to be responsive to the professional, educational, communicative, and political needs of its members. MOTA's advocacy division works in 4 primary areas. The first is licensure for occupational therapy practitioners, but also looking at what's happening with licensure for other professions and making sure that the other professions aren't infringing on OT practice. We look at reimbursement related to medical assistance, workers' compensation, and private insurance in Minnesota. We watch what's happening in Washington with Medicare, but AOTA takes the lead on advocacy for Medicare because that's a federal or national issue. MOTA really focuses on the state of Minnesota. We watch state agency regulations to make sure, again, that they don't impact occupational therapy practice in Minnesota. Some of the agencies we keep an eye on are the Department of Human Services, Department of Health, Department of Education, and Department of Labor and Industry. And then we monitor healthcare reform and advocate for inclusion of occupational therapy services in healthcare reform efforts. In particular, we want to make sure that occupational therapy remains a covered service under the Habilitation and Rehabilitation Benefit Set, the Health and Wellness Benefit Set, and the Mental Health Benefit Set. An overview of the day. You will arrive at 9:30, sign in and pick up your materials, and by 10 o'clock we want you to be sitting in groups by legislative district so you know who's going to make the legislative visit with you, and we will provide an orientation so that you know and are very clear on what's expected. We will have set up meetings for you with legislators. They'll be short meetings. They might be 5 minutes in the hallway as the legislator steps out of a hearing, or 10 minutes in a legislator's office, but they'll be pretty short. Those appointments will be starting around 11 o'clock. Some will go at 11:30, 12, 12:30. We're going to try not to make appointments much later than that. And like I said, they're very short. And when you finish with the meeting, we want you to come back and report on your visit and write thank you notes. If you've got some time, idle time between visits, we encourage you to explore the Capitol and the state office building, sit in on hearings that might be relevant to us, but enjoy the people's house, which is how Governor Dayton refers to the Capitol. So before you can participate in OT Day, it's important that you know who represents you. So if you go to http://www.gis.leg.mn/open-layers, one word with the O and the L capital, /elect/ and type in your address. We need your street address, state and zip code, and then click the search button, and 5 names will pop up. We are only interested in the first 2. We want your Minnesota House and Minnesota Senate. We need the names of those legislators and the names of the district. And the district numbers will be the same for both. However, the Minnesota House district will be followed by an A or a B. We are not interested in U.S. House or U.S. Senate because they're in Washington. Those people aren't at the Minnesota Capitol, and we can't make appointments for you to meet them. We can only make appointments for your Minnesota representative and senator. So to participate, we're going to ask you to sign up with your name. If you're a student, we need to know your school. We want your cell phone number so that if a meeting gets canceled, we can call you on that day. Your email, your street address, and again, that's because the legislators prefer to meet with constituents, and they want to verify if you're coming in to meet with them that you are in fact a constituent, that is someone who lives in their district. And then we need to know your Minnesota representative and senator by name and by district number. You're going to give your information to, if you're a student, there is an OT Day Planning Committee representative at your school who has access to the spreadsheet to record all of this information that we'll be able to use as we set up appointments. And then if you're an OT practitioner, then contact me at kmsames@stkate.edu. We want everybody signed up by February 1st, so we have plenty of time to make those appointments for you. The planning committee will then schedule your appointment. We're going to coordinate visits so that if there's, for example, 5 people from the same legislative district, we'll make one appointment and all 5 people will go to that appointment. And then we will identify where that meeting will take place by room, or if someone's going to be pulled out of a meeting, we'll document that as well. And then you will receive a confirmation email saying who you're going to meet where and when. Plan to arrive by 9:30, allowing plenty of time to find parking and walk to the Capitol. There is construction around there, so parking is going to be at a premium. If you can carpool or take public transportation, that's even better. There will be some metered parking available at $1.50 an hour. Some of them take credit cards. Some of them, particularly on the street, take quarters, so you need a lot of quarters. There is free street parking over on the far side of the Sears department store. We're going to meet in room 316, which is on the 3rd floor of the Capitol. And again, we're meeting in the Capitol, not the State Office Building or Transportation Building. 316 in the State Capitol is on the 3rd floor, tucked in a corner. We will have people there on the 3rd floor directing you to find where to find the room, because it's a little hard to find on your own. You'll be asked to sign in and pick up materials, and then sit in relatively legislative district order so that you'll get to meet the people who are going to make the visits with you. Orientation is going to be provided by Corey Bennett, the MOTA lobbyist, Kathy Brennan, MOTA's VP of Advocacy, and me, the Chair of Government Affairs. And also, this year we will have AOTA President Ginny Stoffel there to get us excited about speaking to our legislators and advocating for occupational therapy practice. You'll have opportunity to ask questions. You're going to pick up all your materials for the visit. We have brochures, talking points, that sort of thing, name tags for you. You'll make your visits and then return to room 316 to write thank you notes. So when you meet with your legislator, relax. They're people too. Engage in some small talk. See if you have anything in common with your legislator. It could be the weather, the Vikings, something just to kind of warm things up. But keep it brief because you've only got 5 or 10 minutes. Your talking points will be provided for you. This year we're going to be asking to remove PAM's certification from our licensure law. And so we'll have very specific information about that you can share with your legislator. You're going to leave the Grip and Grin brochure. That's a brochure produced by AOTA that's geared toward legislators to help them reduce the chance of repetitive motion injury from all that handshaking they're going to be doing on the campaign trail. And then thank your legislator. Thank them for listening and for meeting with you. Then you're going to come back to room 316. You're going to return your folder and any extra handouts you have. You're going to handwrite a short thank you note to the legislators that you met with. We want each person to do this individually, even if you went in with a group to meet the legislator. Very brief, could be 3 sentences. Thank you, or thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. I really enjoyed talking to you about such and such, and I look forward to seeing you again next year. And then if you talked about a particular OT practice area with that legislator, we'll have some AOTA information sheets that you can put into the folder or into the thank you note. And then we will hand deliver those thank you notes. Please let the MOTA reps know if your legislator has a particular connection to OT. That might be something we can capitalize on as we're advocating for MOTA. If you can't be there in person, there's virtual day at the Capitol, same day. We're asking you to email your legislators, so you need to go through the same process to find out who your legislator is. You introduce yourself, tell a story about OT, why OT is so wonderful, why you want to be an OT, why you became an OT, maybe a success story with a patient that you had. And then ask the legislator to support our OT legislation, and we will provide you with a little template or sample letter that you can copy and paste into your email. But we want at least that beginning piece to be unique to each person so they don't think they're getting a standard email from everybody. Copy me when you send your letter to your legislator so that we can keep track of who's been contacted virtually and who's been contacted in person. And we'll know that because we'll be at the Capitol. So thank you for listening. I hope this answered any questions you had about OT Day at the Capitol. We're really looking forward to seeing you there or having you send your emails to legislators on that day so that they're getting bombarded by OT on February 26, 2014. Thanks for listening.